There is a terrifying rhythm woven through human history, a seven-step descent that has dismantled the greatest global powers over the past 5 centuries. Today, in 2025, the United States is mirroring this precise blueprint of decay, step by step, as if guided by the same fatal script that led to ruin before. Consider the precedents. 1590, the Spanish Empire, master of half the world's silver and gold, crumbled into bankruptcy and irrelevance within 80 years. 1914, the British Empire, upon which the sun never set, saw its global dominance and currency evaporate within 4 decades, relegated to a junior partner role. 1991, the Soviet Union, a nuclear titan, simply ceased to exist in just 900 days, not vanquished by war, but suffocated by economic failure. 3 separate eras, 3 dominant empires, 3 total implosions, all following an identical pattern. The alarming truth is that the United States has already traversed 5 of the 7 stages. We aren't merely approaching this vortex, we are already spinning deep within it. Defining imperial disintegration. Imperial disintegration is not signaled by a sudden invasion. It begins with fiscal exhaustion. The hegemon's commitments, military bases across continents, wars on multiple fronts, and unfulfillable social promises exceed its capacity to generate wealth. Initially, the decline is masked. The currency still circulates, the military still projects force. But internal corrosion takes hold. Capital is misallocated, productive power shrinks, and skilled citizens emigrate. The slide accelerates when allies begin to hedge bets, competitors challenge borders, and the global reserve currency status slowly erodes. The very pillars of power become liabilities. Stage 1. Global military overreach, the phenomenon. The empire extends its reach far beyond sustainable means, funding endless commitments across multiple theaters of conflict. The immense cost crowds out domestic investment. Case study, Spain. King Philip II, despite unprecedented access to New World treasure, funneled nearly 50% of Spain's tax revenue into continuous warfare against the Ottomans, the French, the Dutch rebels, and the English Navy, stretching its forces across 4 continents. It was never enough. USA's status. Evident. The U.S. maintains over 750 military installations in 80 nations. The annual defense budget, approximately $850 billion, dwarfs the spending of the next 10 countries combined. Yet resources are strained, equipment ages, and recruitment falters. Our commitments in NATO, Asia, and the Middle East simultaneously cannot be fully secured. Stage 2. Monetary degradation. The phenomenon. To finance its exorbitant commitments, the empire degrades the value of its sovereign debt, eroding confidence in its currency. Case study, Spain. Unable to tax enough, the Spanish crown resorted to coin clipping, blending cheaper copper into its silver coinage. The coin's nominal value remained, but its metallic true value plummeted, fueling runaway inflation as merchants refused to accept the debased currency. USA's status. Acute. Since the 1971 separation from the gold standard, the dollar became purely fiat. Since the year 2000, the money supply has ballooned by 400%. Post-2020, over $6 trillion was created, resulting in a 98% loss in the dollar's purchasing power since the 1970s. We are not adding copper to silver. We are simply printing digitally, but the end result is the same. Systemic debasement. Stage 3. Uncontrolled debt proliferation. The phenomenon deficits become structural, leading to chronic borrowing. The state ultimately borrows simply to service the interest on prior borrowing, entering an inescapable feedback loop. Case study. Spain. Spain became dependent on German and Italian banking houses, resulting in 4 sovereign defaults and bankruptcies between 1557 and 1596. Each financial collapse was met with renewed borrowing rather than genuine fiscal discipline. USA's status. Critical. The national debt stands at $36 trillion, surpassing 120% of GDP. Interest payments alone are nearing $1 trillion per year, eclipsing the defense budget, running a $1.8 trillion deficit in a time of relative peace and economic growth, signals an entrenched debt spiral. 4. Stage 4. Decline in primary production. The phenomenon. The reliance on cheap imports, enabled by the reserve currency status, hollows out the domestic manufacturing and agricultural base. The country becomes a consumer and financier, not a producer. Case study: Spain. The flood of silver from the Americas paradoxically dismantled Spain's domestic industries. Why produce goods or farmland when foreign imports could be paid for with easily acquired bullion? Spain became a temporary conduit for wealth, dependent on imports for survival. When the silver flow slowed, their productive deficiency became fatal. USA's status: deeply entrenched. The U.S. imports $800 billion more than it exports annually. Critical supply chains for pharmaceuticals, electronics, and even military components are outsourced. Like Spain, America has traded its productive engine for reliance on dollars flowing outward to pay for foreign goods. Shive. Stage 5. Socio-political fragmentation. The phenomenon: economic distress and loss of state confidence manifest as internal chaos. Citizens lose faith in governing bodies, productive talent flees, and institutions fail to maintain order or consensus. Case study: Spain economic hardship led to a mass exodus of skilled citizens and intellectuals to rival nations, France, England. Madrid's streets were filled with beggars. Society became dominated by unproductive classes, bureaucrats and clergy, while those who created wealth departed. USA's status: manifest trust in public institutions is at historic lows. We see surging crime rates, a widespread homelessness crisis, and a staggering 100,000 annual drug overdose deaths. Political dysfunction is absolute. The ability to agree on or execute necessary reforms has collapsed. The signs of internal erosion are ubiquitous. 6. Stage 6. Erosion of reserve currency status. USA is currently entering this stage. This is the point where the world collectively signals a loss of confidence. Global trade begins shifting away from the hegemon's currency, triggering a vast repatriation of dollars, collapsing its financial privileges. We are observing the precursors. BRICS nations are developing alternate payment systems. Central banks are aggressively acquiring gold. Major commodity producers like Saudi Arabia are exploring accepting non-dollar payments for oil. The foundation of the dollar's dominance is visibly cracking. 7. Stage 7. Abrupt implosion, the point of no return. The final stage is not a slow recession, but a sharp, brutal financial seizure. The Soviet Union evaporated in 900 days. Britain's empire dissolved within 2 decades. When the currency loses its global function, debt becomes unpayable, and the military can no longer be funded. The system does not gently contract. It fails suddenly. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe it for more financial content.